The stars looked different from the bridge of the times Horizon's Promise **. Commander Taeyong stood with his hands behind his back, watching the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel through the main viewport. His crew worked quietly at their stations. They had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this moment. First contact with the Velcrin Imperium. Yuna checked her scanner readings for the 100th time. She was the science officer, and her job was to understand everything about the species they were about to meet. What she had learned made her nervous. The Velcrin had conquered 47 star systems. They ruled over dozens of alien races. Every species that refused to bow before them had been destroyed, dropping out of faster than light in 30 seconds, announced Hyun from the tactical station. He was younger than most of the crew, but his hands never shook. Taeyang trusted him completely. The ship shuddered as it returned to normal space. Before them floated a massive station. It was 3 times larger than anything humanity had ever built. Dark metal covered its surface, and weapon batteries pointed in every direction. Smaller ships patrolled around it like sharks. "They're scanning us," Yuna said. Her voice was calm, but her fingers gripped the edge of her console. Very aggressive scans. They're looking at everything. Our weapons, our engines, even our life support. Taeyang nodded. "Let them look. We have nothing to hide. We came here in peace." A harsh sound filled the bridge. The communication system activated without anyone touching it. The Velcrin had forced their way into the ship's systems. A face appeared on the main screen. It was reptilian, with dark green scales and yellow eyes that seemed to glow. Rows of sharp teeth showed when it spoke. "I am High Chancellor Vex Thor of the Velcrin Imperium. You will identify yourselves." Taeyang stepped forward. "I am Commander Taeyang of the United Earth Alliance. We come representing humanity. We wish to establish peaceful relations with your people." Vex Thor made a sound that might have been laughter. "Humanity. Yes, we know of you. We have watched your primitive expansion into space. You are weak. You are prey." The words hung in the air. Yuna looked at Taeyang, but he kept his face calm. "We are not prey," Taeyang said carefully. "We are an intelligent species, seeking friendship and trade with other civilizations." "Friendship?" Vex Thor leaned forward. His teeth gleamed. "There is no friendship in the galaxy. There are only predators and prey, the strong and the weak. The Velcrin are the apex. We stand at the top of all things. You will learn your place beneath us." Hyun's hand moved closer to his weapons console. Taeyang raised one hand slightly, a signal to wait. "We do not seek conflict," Taeyang said. "Surely there is room in the galaxy for multiple civilizations to coexist. You misunderstand your situation." Vex Thor touched something off-screen. A new image appeared. It showed a planet from orbit. The world was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. Cities sparkled across the night side. This was the Talveen homeworld. They also spoke of peace and coexistence. The image changed. Now, the planet was dark. The oceans had turned to vapor. The continents were blackened. Lifeless rock. Nothing moved. Nothing lived. 6 hours? Vex Thor said. That is how long it took my fleet to sterilize their world. They refused to submit. They believed their peaceful nature would protect them. They were wrong. Yuna made a small sound. She covered her mouth with her hand. Billions of lives. Erased in 6 hours. You are monsters, Hyun said before he could stop himself. Vex's Thor's eyes fixed on him. We are the strong. The galaxy belongs to those who can take it and hold it. The Velcrin have held it for 1,000 years. No species has ever defeated us in battle. No species has ever refused our demands and survived. Taeyang felt cold rage building in his chest, but he kept his voice level. What are your demands? Simple. You have 7 of your cycles to surrender all human colonies to Velcrin control. Your military will be dissolved. Your people will serve the Imperium. You will provide workers, resources, and tribute. In exchange, we will allow your species to continue existing. And if we refuse, Vex Thor showed all his teeth. Then you will join the Talveen in extinction. We will burn every human world. We will destroy every ship. We will erase every trace that your species ever existed. The galaxy will forget you ever lived. Taeyang looked at his crew. Yuna was pale, but determined. Hyun looked ready to fight right now. The others watched him, waiting for orders. I need to consult with my government, Taeyang said. You have 7 cycles. Not one moment more. Vex Thor moved to end the transmission, then paused. I will give you advice, human. Do not let your pride destroy your species. Every race that refused us believed they were special. Believed they were different. Believed they could resist. All of them died screaming. Submit and live as slaves. Refuse and die as fools. Choose wisely. The screen went black. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then Hyun spoke. Sir, we need to warn Earth immediately. Already composing the message, Yuna said. Her fingers flew across her console. Complete transmission of everything we saw and heard, including the footage of the Talveen world. Taeyang walked to the viewport. The Velcrin station loomed before them, massive and threatening. Somewhere in there, Vex's Thor sat in his throne, absolutely certain that humanity would submit or die. Send the message, Taeyang ordered. Maximum priority. And add a note to Fleet Admiral Dongwu. Tell him we need to prepare for war. Sir? Yuna looked up. You don't think we'll surrender? Taeyang thought about the burned planet. He thought about billions of lives erased because they dared to live free. He thought about what humanity had survived to reach the stars. Wars, plagues, disasters, extinction events. Humanity had clawed its way up from nothing. No, he said quietly. We won't surrender. We didn't survive everything on Earth just to become slaves to an alien empire. Send the message. Let them know what's coming. The Times Horizon's promised times turned and began its journey home. Behind them, the Velcrin station watched with cold sensors, already counting humanity among the conquered. They had no idea what they had just started. War leader Krethax stood on the command deck of his flagship and felt insulted. The High Chancellor had given him just 12 warships to conquer the human colony of New Busan. 12 ships. It was an insult to his skill and reputation. This is beneath me, he growled to his second-in-command. I have led fleets of hundreds. I have broken entire civilizations. And now, I am sent to crush a minor outpost with barely a dozen vessels. His second-in-command, a younger Velcrin named Thex, bowed his head. The High Chancellor believes humans are weak. He wants to make an example with minimal resources, to show how little effort is required to defeat them. Krethax snorted. They are prey animals. Look at them. He gestured to a screen showing images of humans. Soft skin, small teeth, no claws, no natural armor. They should never have left their homeworld. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Busan system. Alarms immediately started blaring on human defense platforms. Krethax watched with amusement as the small human ships scrambled to respond. They have 8 defenders, Thex reported. Small frigates, primitive weapons. This will be over in minutes. Captain Jiho sat in the command chair of the Defense Fleet flagship Times Defiant Asterisk. His ship was old, a retrofitted cargo hauler with weapons bolted to the hull. The 7 other ships in his fleet were even worse, but they were what humanity had in this sector. Visual on the enemy? He asked. On screen now, sir, his sensor officer replied. Jiho studied the Velcrin ships. They were massive, covered in armor, plating, and weapon batteries. Each one could probably destroy his entire fleet alone. His crew watched him, waiting to see fear. Instead, they saw him smile. "They think this will be easy," Jiho said. "Good. Nari, are the asteroid field preparations complete?" Engineer Nari looked up from her station. She was young but brilliant, the best hacker humanity had produced. "All set, Captain. Every asteroid in Section 7 has been rigged exactly as you ordered." "Excellent." Jiho opened a channel to his fleet. "All ships. Execute plan, Ghost Dragon. Make them chase us." The human ships fired their weapons at extreme range. The shots were deliberately inaccurate, designed not to hit but to annoy. Then they turned and ran toward the asteroid field. Krethax watched the humans flee and laughed. "They run like frightened children. All ships. Pursue. Show them there is no escape from the Velkrin." The Velkrin warships charged forward, their engines burning bright. They entered the asteroid field at high speed, confident in their shields and armor. "Now," Jiho said quietly. Nari pressed a button. The asteroids that the Velkrin ships passed were not natural. Weeks ago, human engineers had hollowed them out and filled them with explosives. Nari had planted tiny sensors and transmitters in hundreds of rocks. Now she activated them all at once. The asteroid field exploded into a storm of fire and shrapnel. 3 Velkrin ships disappeared immediately, torn apart by blasts they never saw coming. 2 more took heavy damage, their shields collapsing under the assault. "What is this?" Krethax roared. "Cowards! They mine the battlefield." "All warfare is based on deception, you arrogant lizard," Jiho muttered. Then louder. "All ships. Attack pattern mongoose. Hit them while they're confused." The human ships came about. They were smaller and faster than the Velkrin vessels. They darted between asteroids, using the rocks for cover. Their weapons focused on damaged enemy ships, targeting weak points and exposed systems. Nari worked her console frantically. "I'm detecting an encrypted signal between their ships. Trying to crack it." "How long?" Jiho asked, as the ship shook from incoming fire. 2 minutes. "You have 1 minute." Nari's fingers became a blur. Code scrolled across her screen faster than anyone else could read. She was breaking into military encryption that should have been impossible to crack. But Nari didn't believe in impossible. "Got it," she shouted. "I'm in their network. Captain, I can see everything. Their shield frequencies, their weapon targeting systems, even their life support." Jiho grinned. "Can you cause problems?" "Can I ever?" Nari started typing new commands. On one of the Velkrin cruisers, the lights suddenly went dark. The ship began spinning out of control as its maneuvering thrusters fired randomly. Another ship's weapons locked up, unable to fire. Krethax stared at his displays in disbelief. "How are they doing this? Our systems are encrypted. They should not be able to access our networks." Thex worked desperately at his station. "Sir, they've introduced some kind of virus. It's spreading through the fleet communications. I've never seen code like this. Cut all networked connections. Each ship operates independently." But it was too late. The damage was done. The Velkrin fleet was in chaos. Ships collided with asteroids they couldn't detect. Weapons fired at wrong coordinates. Life support failed on multiple decks. The human ships pressed their advantage. They were still outgunned, but now they had the upper hand. They worked together with perfect coordination, while the Velkrin fleet fell apart. "Sir, we've lost 6 ships," Thex reported. His voice was shaking. 3 more are heavily damaged. "We cannot win this engagement." Krethax felt something he had never experienced in battle before. Fear. These soft prey animals were defeating him. It was impossible. It should not be happening. "All ships, retreat," he ordered. The words tasted like poison. "Jump to faster than light, immediately." The surviving Velkrin ships turned and fled. Their engines burned at maximum as they raced away from the asteroid field. The human ships did not pursue. They held position, watching the enemy run. On the bridge of the Times defiant asterisk, Jiho's crew erupted into cheers. They had won. 8 small ships had defeated 12 Velcrin warships and sent them running. Jiho did not cheer. He looked at the casualty reports. They had lost 1 ship. 38 crew members dead. It was a victory. But people had died to achieve it. Nari, excellent work, he said. Send all the data you gathered to Fleet Command. They need to know everything about Velcrin systems. Already done, sir, Nari replied. Her hands were still shaking from adrenaline. I also grabbed their communication logs. Fleet Intelligence is going to have a field day with this. Halfway across the galaxy, Krethax arrived at the Velcrin command station. He walked to High Chancellor Vex Thor's throne room, dreading what was to come. You lost? Vex Thor's voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. The humans were more cunning than anticipated. They used traps and electronic warfare. They fought without honor. Honor? Vex Thor stood from his throne. You lost half your fleet to 8 primitive vessels. You have brought shame to the Velcrin. You have made us look weak. Resolving, look weak, High Chancellor. These humans are not like other species. They fight differently. Silence. Vex Thor's eyes burned with rage. I will deal with the humans myself. Assemble the Grand Fleet. 300 warships. I will personally lead them to Earth. I will show the galaxy what happens when prey dares to bite back. Krethax bowed and retreated. As he left, he thought about the human ships dancing through the asteroid field, about the virus that had torn through their systems like it was nothing, about the cold efficiency with which they had destroyed his fleet. He had one thought that he dared not speak aloud. The Velcrin had made a terrible mistake. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. The Velcrin had been defeated. The impossible had happened. Subjugated species whispered in secret. Some dared to hope, and on New Busan, Captain Jiho stood in front of a memorial wall. He placed photos of the 38 crew members who had died. Good people. Brave people. We won the first battle, he said quietly to their images. But the war is just beginning, and they're going to come at us with everything they have. He saluted the wall, then turned and walked back to his ship. There was work to do. Fleet Admiral Dongwu stood in the war room, deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, holographic displays showed every human colony, every ship, every resource humanity possessed. It was not enough. Not nearly enough to fight the Velcrin Imperium. 300 warships, he said, studying the intelligence report. Vex Thor is bringing his entire Grand Fleet. Every major combat vessel the Velcrin possess. President Sora sat at the council table, her face grave. Can we win? Dongwu was silent for a moment. Honesty was important now. In a straight fight? No. They outnumber us 5-1. Their ships are larger, better armed, and better armored. If we meet them in open battle, we will lose. Then what do you propose? We don't fight fair. We don't fight like they expect. We make them bleed for every inch of space. Dongwu touched the display, and it changed to show shipyards across human space. I'm activating Protocol Omega. Total war mobilization. Every shipyard, every factory, every resource will be converted to military production. Around the table, counselors shifted nervously. Protocol Omega meant that civilian life would change completely. Rationing. Conscription. Every part of society bent toward one purpose. Survival. Do it, Sora said. We didn't come this far to become slaves. Across human space, the transformation began. Shipyards that built cargo haulers now built warships. Factories that made consumer goods now made ammunition. Scientists who studied distant stars now designed weapons. Dr. Minji worked in a laboratory buried in the Antarctic ice. She had spent years on theoretical physics that most people said was impossible. Now, those theories would be tested in the most extreme way possible. Project Ragnarok is ready for field testing, she reported to Admiral Dongwu via secure transmission. All 3 weapon systems are operational. Explain them to me, Dongwu said. Simple terms. I'm a soldier, not a physicist. Minji pulled up schematics. System 1. Relativistic kill vehicles. Missiles that accelerate to 90% of light speed. When they hit, the kinetic energy alone is equivalent to a nuclear weapon. No armor can stop them. System 2. Quantum mines. We create pairs of entangled particles and separate them. One stays with us, one goes into the mine. When we observe our particle, the mine's particle reacts instantly, no matter the distance. We can detonate mines anywhere in the galaxy with 0 delay. System 3. Hunter-killer swarms. AI-controlled drones that work together. They learn from each battle and share knowledge instantly. The more they fight, the smarter they get. Dongwu was quiet for a moment. These weapons, they're terrifying. Yes, Minji said simply. But the Velkrin wanted to exterminate us, so we built exterminators. At the pilot academy on Mars, Sojun climbed into his new fighter for the first time. It was smaller than the old models. Faster. More agile. The cockpit wrapped around him like a second skin. Neural interfaces connected directly to his brain. How does it feel? The chief engineer asked. Like it's part of me, Sojun replied. Like I'm not flying the ship. I am the ship. Good. Because you're going to need every advantage you can get. Intel says the Velkrin fleet will arrive in 48 hours. 48 hours. Sojun thought about his family back on Earth. His mother. His sister. He had joined the defense forces to protect them. Now, he would get that chance. I'll be ready, he said. The Velkrin Grand Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. 300 massive warships, armed, and ready to destroy humanity's homeworld. On the command ship, High Chancellor Vex Thor looked at Earth on his view screen and smiled. Such a beautiful world, he said. It will be even more beautiful when it burns. All ships, advance. Destroy any resistance. Show these prey animals the price of defiance. The fleet began moving toward Earth. Alarms blared across every human installation in the system. This was the moment they had prepared for. Admiral Dongwu stood on the bridge of the flagship Times Indomitable Asterisk. His fleet was assembled. 200 ships of various sizes. Outnumbered and outgunned. But not outthought. All ships, execute battle plan Hydra. Do not engage in formation. Scatter and strike from unexpected angles. Make them fight 100 small battles, instead of one large one. The human fleet dispersed. Ships moved in seemingly random directions, breaking into small groups. The Velkrin fleet tried to maintain formation, but it was like trying to fight smoke. Sojun led his fighter wing into the chaos. His neural interface fed him information faster than conscious thought. Enemy positions, friendly locations, optimal attack vectors. He moved through the battlefield like a dancer, his fighter responding to his thoughts instantly. Targeting priority. Enemy command ships, he transmitted to his wing. Hit and fade. Don't let them lock onto you. The fighters were too small and fast for the Velkrin's large weapons to track effectively. They swarmed around the massive warships like angry insects, firing precision strikes at critical systems, engines, sensors, communication arrays. Then Minji's weapons entered the battle. The first relativistic kill vehicle appeared on Velkrin sensors as a small object moving impossibly fast. They had no time to react. It struck a cruiser at 90% of light speed. The ship simply ceased to exist, transformed into an expanding cloud of plasma. What was that? Vex Thor demanded. Unknown weapon, High Chancellor. Some kind of kinetic strike. The energy readings are off the scale. 2 more kill vehicles struck. 2 more Velkrin ships vanished. Then the quantum mines activated. They had been deployed days ago, scattered through the battle space. Now Minji observed their entangled particles, and across the battlefield, mines detonated with perfect timing. Velcrin ships that thought they were in safe zones suddenly found themselves in explosions. And finally, the hunter-killer swarms were released. Thousands of small drones poured from human ships. They moved together with perfect coordination, adapting to Velcrin tactics in real time. When the Velcrin tried to shoot them down with point defense weapons, the drones learned and changed their approach patterns. When the Velcrin tried to jam their communications, the drones switched to quantum entanglement. The battle was chaos. The Velcrin fleet, so used to overwhelming their enemies with superior numbers, found themselves unable to use their advantage. Human ships appeared from unexpected angles, struck hard, and vanished before the Velcrin could respond. The new weapons caused devastation that the Velcrin had never experienced. Vex Thor watched his fleet taking losses and felt something cold settle in his chest. This was not how battles were supposed to go. The prey were fighting like predators. The weak were acting like the strong. Pull back to defensive formation, he ordered. Reform the fleet. But reformation was impossible. The humans wouldn't let them. Every time Velcrin ships tried to group together, fighters and drones tore into them. Every time they established a defensive position, relativistic weapons struck from unexpected angles. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it finally ended, both fleets were exhausted. The Velcrin had lost 90 ships. The humans had lost 70. In terms of numbers, it was roughly even. But in terms of what it meant, humanity had won. The Velcrin Grand Fleet, the unstoppable force that had conquered the galaxy, had been fought to a standstill by the prey they had dismissed as weak. Vex Thor retreated to the outer system. His ship's bridge was dark, lit only by emergency lights. His crew worked silently, terrified of his rage. They should not have been able to do this, he said quietly. We are the apex. We are the strongest. This is impossible, but it had happened. And across the galaxy, other species were hearing about it. The Velcrin could be hurt. The Velcrin could bleed. On Earth, Admiral Dongwu reviewed the battle reports. The casualties were heavy. Good people had died, but they had proven something important. We can fight them, he said to his staff. We can actually fight them and win. In her laboratory, Minji was already working on new weapons. More terrible, more destructive. If the Velcrin wanted war, humanity would give them war. And in his fighter, still docked after the battle, Seojun closed his eyes and tried not to think about the Velcrin ships he had destroyed, the crews inside them. He told himself they were the enemy. They would have done worse to Earth. But late at night, he still had nightmares. The galaxy watched and waited. The war had truly begun. Intelligence Officer Jiwoo studied the holographic map of Velcrin space with intense focus. She had spent 3 months gathering intelligence from captured ships, intercepted communications, and deep space reconnaissance. What she had discovered would change everything. You're absolutely certain? Admiral Dongwu asked, leaning forward in his chair. Yes, sir. Velcris Prime, their homeworld, is defended by only 20 warships. The rest of their fleet is spread across the galaxy, or committed to fighting us. They never expected anyone to strike at their home. Jiwoo pulled up tactical data. Their entire military doctrine is offensive. They attack, they conquer, they move forward. No one in 1,000 years has attacked them, so they never built strong home defenses. Dongwu looked at the data for a long time. This is our chance. If we can strike at their heart, we can end this war. It's risky, sir. Velcris Prime is deep in their territory. We'd have to travel through multiple hostile systems to reach it. War is risk. Dongwu turned to his communication officer. Set up a secure channel. I need to speak with the Scarth Alliance and the Talveen survivors. The call connected. On the screen appeared 2 faces. One was a reptilian Scarth commander named Rexor, covered in red scales. The other was a Talveen named Lyra, one of the few who had escaped when her world was destroyed. "Admiral," Rexer said, his voice a deep rumble. "We received your message. You plan to attack Velcris Prime?" "Yes, and we want you to join us." Lyra's eyes widened. She was a small, bird-like creature with blue feathers. "Attack their homeworld? The Velcrin will retaliate with everything they have. They're already trying to exterminate us all," Dongwu said simply. "The Velcrin showed you no mercy. They glassed your world and enslaved your survivors. They've done the same to dozens of species. It's time we showed them what it feels like to be hunted." Rexer showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. "The Scarth have been slaves for 200 years. We've waited for this chance. Our fleet will join yours." Lyra was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "For every Talveen who died screaming as our world burned. Yes, we will join you." Over the next weeks, a coalition fleet assembled in secret. Human ships, Scarth warships, Talveen frigates, and vessels from a dozen other species that had suffered under Velcrin rule. It was the largest military force in galactic history, united by one purpose: to end the Velcrin Imperium, forever. Technician Junho worked around the clock, upgrading every ship with the latest human technology. He moved from vessel to vessel, installing new weapons, better shields, improved engines. When the Scarth commander complained that some of the technology was too advanced for his crews to understand, Junho just smiled. "Don't worry," he said. "I'm installing AI assistants. They'll help your people use the systems. Think of them as very smart advisors that live in your ship's computer." Dr. Yuna worked on a different problem. Velcris Prime was protected by planetary shields that could withstand orbital bombardment. Breaking through them would take days and cost countless lives, unless she could find a better way. She studied captured Velcrin technology, dissected their shield generators, analyzed their energy patterns. For weeks, she worked without sleep, sustained by stimulants and determination. Finally, she found it. A flaw in the shield design. A tiny vulnerability that the Velcrin had never noticed because no one had ever tried to exploit it. "I can create a virus," she explained to Admiral Dongwu. "It gets uploaded to their shield network through any connected device, even a simple communication signal. Once inside, it will cascade through their entire system and cause a complete shutdown. The shields will fall within minutes." Wonsin. "How do we deliver it?" "Someone needs to get close to the planet. Close enough to establish a direct link with their network. It's dangerous. The defender ships will try to stop them." Dongwu nodded. "I'll find volunteers." "Good work, Yuna." Meanwhile, on Velcris Prime, High Chancellor Vex Thor was descending into paranoia. Reports came daily of the Velcrin losing battles, colonies rebelling, subject species rising up. His empire, built over 1,000 years, was crumbling. "It's the humans," he hissed to his advisors. "They've poisoned the galaxy against us." Before they came, everyone knew their place. Everyone obeyed. Now look. Chaos. Rebellion. Destruction. "High Chancellor, we're receiving reports that human ships have been seen in the outer sectors. Some say a large fleet is gathering. Let them gather. Let them come. We are safe here on Velcris Prime. No one would dare attack our homeworld. It would be suicide." Quote, but his advisors noticed that he ordered additional defenses anyway. That he slept with guards outside his chamber. That he looked at shadows with suspicion. The coalition fleet made its final jump to the Velcris Prime system. Hundreds of ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel simultaneously, appearing in perfect formation. On Velcris Prime, alarms began to scream. Vex Thor stared at his view screen in disbelief. How did they get here? How did they penetrate so deep into our territory? High Chancellor, we count 400 vessels, human, Scarth, Talveen, and others. They're advancing on the planet. All ships, engage, destroy them. But even as Vex Thor gave the order, He knew 20 ships could not stop 400. The battle began immediately. The Velcrin defenders fought with desperate courage, but they were overwhelmed. The coalition fleet had been built specifically for this moment. Every ship knew its role. Every captain understood the mission. Pilot Seo-jun led the most dangerous part of the operation. His fighter wing had to get close to the planet. Close enough for Dr. Yuna's virus to be transmitted. But getting close meant flying through the heaviest defenses. All wings, follow me. He transmitted. Remember your training. Fast and unpredictable. Don't give them an easy target. The fighters dove toward the planet. Velcrin defense platforms opened fire with everything they had. Space filled with weapons, fire, missiles, and explosions. Ships died, left and right. But the survivors kept coming. Seo-jun's fighter shook as a blast nearly clipped his wing. His shields were failing. His armor was melted in places. But he could see the planet ahead. Growing larger. Just a little closer. Transmission range achieved, his computer announced. Dr. Yuna, uploading your virus now. Seo-jun pressed the button, then immediately pulled his fighter into a hard turn. A missile passed through the space he had occupied a second before. On the planet's surface, in the shield control center, technicians noticed something strange. A communication signal had just been received. It was coded as a standard identification request. The automated systems processed it. Then everything went wrong. The virus spread through the shield network like wildfire. It moved faster than any technician could respond. It rewrote code, changed parameters, and shut down safety systems. Within 3 minutes, every shield generator on Velcris Prime overloaded and shut down. The planetary shields, which had protected the Velcrin homeworld for centuries, collapsed. In orbit, Admiral Dongwu received the confirmation. Shields are down. All ships, you are clear to engage surface targets. But before he could give the attack order, he opened a channel directly to Vex Thor. The High Chancellor's face appeared on screen, full of rage and fear. This is your last chance to surrender, Dongwu said calmly. Stand down your military. Order your forces to cease hostilities. Submit to trial for war crimes. Do this, and we will spare your civilian population. Vex Thor's eyes were wild. Foam gathered at the corners of his mouth. We are the apex. We are the strongest. You are prey. This is impossible. This cannot be happening. It is happening. Surrender, or we will do to your world what you did to the Talveen. Never, Vex Thor screamed. We will never submit to inferior species. We would rather die than bow before prey animals. Attack them. Kill them all. Dongwu's face hardened. So be it. Commander Hana, you are authorized to begin ground operations. All ships. Engage military targets only. Civilians are not to be harmed. The bombardment began, but it was nothing like what the Velcrin had done to other worlds. Human ships targeted military installations, government buildings, and weapon factories. They avoided civilian areas. They used precision strikes instead of area bombardment. Commander Hana led the ground forces personally. Dropships descended through the atmosphere, carrying soldiers from a dozen different species. They landed near the capital city and began advancing. The Velcrin soldiers who met them fought hard, but they were defending an empire that was already dead. One by one, military installations fell. Government officials surrendered or fled. Hana's forces reached the palace where Vex Thor had barricaded himself. He refused to surrender, ordering his guards to fight to the death. But his guards, seeing that the cause was lost, laid down their weapons. Vex Thor was found alone in his throne room, still screaming that this was impossible, that the prey could not defeat the predators, that the natural order could not be reversed. Hana looked at him without pity. The natural order is change. You forgot that. Now, pay the price. The war was over. The throne room of Velcris Prime was silent except for the sound of boots on marble floors. Commander Hana walked slowly toward the throne, where High Chancellor Vex Thor sat, his hands bound, his eyes empty. Around them, soldiers from a dozen different species stood guard. Species that had been enslaved, conquered, and brutalized by the Velcrin Empire. "It's over," Hana said quietly. "Your empire has fallen. Your fleets are scattered or destroyed. Your subject worlds have declared independence. You have lost." Vex Thor looked up at her with eyes that seemed to have aged 100 years. "How?" he whispered. "We were the strongest. We were the apex predators. We ruled for 1,000 years. How did prey animals defeat us? We ruled for Minder. We ruled for Mation. We were the strongest." Hana pulled up a chair and sat across from him, not as a conqueror standing over a defeated enemy, but as one person speaking to another. "You want to know your mistake? It wasn't underestimating our weapons or our ships. It was underestimating what we fight for. I don't understand. You fought for dominance, for pride, for the glory of conquest. We fought for survival, for freedom, for every person who died screaming when you destroyed their world." Hana leaned forward. "You fought because you believed you deserved to rule. We fought because we had no choice but to win or die. There's a difference in that kind of desperation. We showed no mercy because the galaxy respects only strength. No, the galaxy feared you. That's not the same as respect. And fear only lasts until someone finds the courage to fight back. We were that someone." Outside the palace, the city of Velcrin stretched in all directions. It was a beautiful city of towering spires and flowing architecture. The human forces had been careful not to damage it. Unlike the Velcrin, they did not believe in destroying worlds. Admiral Dongwu stood on a balcony overlooking the city. President Sora had arrived from Earth to witness the end of the war. She joined him, looking out at the alien skyline. "Casualties?" she asked. "Heavy. We lost 48,000 personnel in the final battle. The coalition forces lost another 70,000. Dr. Minji was killed when her research ship was hit. Technician Junho died holding a breach in the hull so his crew could evacuate." Dongwu's voice was tired. "We won. But the cost was terrible. War always costs too much." Sora was quiet for a moment. "What happens now? Now we build something better. The Galactic Assembly is already forming. Every free species gets a voice. No more empires. No more apex predators ruling over prey. You think it will work?" Dongwu smiled slightly. "I think we have to try. We didn't fight this hard just to become the new Velcrin." Across the galaxy, news of the Velcrin defeat spread rapidly. On subjugated worlds, populations took to the streets in celebration. Statues of Velcrin rulers were torn down. Symbols of the Empire were burned. After centuries of oppression, species were free. On the Talvine colony ships, survivors watched footage of Velcris Prime's surrender. Lyra stood among her people, tears streaming down her feathered face. They had lost their homeworld, but they had seen justice served. "We will rebuild," she told her people. "We will find a new world. We will live free. Our children will grow up without fear." The Scarth commander Rexer stood before his people and declared an end to 200 years of slavery. The chains were broken. The Scarth were free again. In a medical facility on Earth, pilot Seojun lay recovering from his injuries. He had barely survived the mission to transmit Yuna's virus. His fighter had been shot down, and he had ejected at the last second. Rescue teams had found him floating in space, his suit nearly out of oxygen. A nurse brought him a message. It was from Admiral Dongwu, marked with the highest honors. Seojun read it and felt tears in his eyes. The Admiral wrote about courage, sacrifice, and duty, about how Seojun's bravery had helped end the war. But Seojun thought about all the pilots who hadn't made it back, his friends who had died in the void of space. Were their sacrifices worth it? He wanted to believe they were. In her laboratory, or what was left of it, Dr. Yuna's assistant carefully packed her research notes. Yuna had died doing what she loved, pushing the boundaries of science to protect her species. Her virus had brought down the Velcrin shields, but she hadn't lived to see the victory it brought. The assistant found a personal log in Yuna's files. In it, she had written, "If I don't survive this war, I want people to know I didn't create these weapons because I enjoyed destruction. I created them because sometimes, to protect life, you must master death. I hope humanity never needs weapons like these again. But if they do, at least now they'll have them." 3 months after the fall of Velcris Prime, the First Galactic Assembly convened on a neutral station. Representatives from 83 species gathered: humans, Scarth, Talveen, and even some Velcrin who had rejected their empire's brutality. Admiral Dongwu represented humanity. He stood at the podium and addressed the assembled species. For too long, the galaxy operated under the rule of the strong over the weak. The Velcrin claimed to be apex predators, and for 1,000 years, no one could challenge that claim. But their empire is gone now, broken by the united effort of species they dismissed as prey. He paused, looking around the chamber. We did not fight this war to become the new rulers. We fought for freedom, for the right of every species to determine its own future. Today, we establish the Terran Commonwealth, an alliance open to any species that values freedom and cooperation. But let me be clear about something. Dongwu's voice grew harder. Humanity desires peace. We want to explore the galaxy, to learn from other species, to build a better future together. But we will never again bow to those who claim to be apex predators. We will never submit to tyrants. We climbed up from the bottom of Earth's food chain by being adaptable, clever, and absolutely refusing to give up. Those traits didn't disappear when we reached the stars. A Scarth representative stood. What of the Velcrin who remain? Their empire is gone, but millions of their people still live. Will humans exterminate them, as they exterminated others? Dongwu shook his head. No, we are not the Velcrin. Those who committed war crimes will face trial. Those who choose to live in peace will be allowed to do so. We believe in justice, not genocide, even after what they did to other species, especially because of what they did. We will not let their cruelty change us into something we don't want to be. The assembly debated for days. Treaties were written. Borders were established. Trade agreements were negotiated. It was messy and complicated, and sometimes frustrating. But it was also something the galaxy had never seen before. Different species working together as equals. On Velcris Prime, now occupied by coalition forces, Vexthor was brought to trial. The courtroom was filled with representatives from every species the Velcrin had harmed. The evidence was overwhelming. Footage of destroyed worlds, records of enslaved populations, orders signed in his own hand for the extinction of entire civilizations. When asked if he had anything to say in his defense, Vexthor stood and spoke. His voice was different now, quieter, older. I have no defense. I believed that strength gave us the right to rule. I believed that might made right. I was taught this by my predecessors, and I taught it to my subordinates. For 1,000 years, our empire stood on these principles. I watched my empire fall in weeks. I saw species I considered inferior defeat, forces I thought unbeatable. And I realized something. We were never as strong as we believed. We were just bullies who had never met anyone willing to fight back. Do with me what you will. I deserve whatever judgment you pass. But learn from our mistake. Strength without wisdom is just violence. Power without compassion is just cruelty. We forgot that, and it destroyed us. The judges deliberated for 3 days. The sentence was life imprisonment, not death. As one judge explained, we are better than the empire we defeated. We do not execute prisoners, no matter how terrible their crimes. Years passed. The galaxy changed. The scars of war slowly healed. though some would never fully disappear. New Busan, where the first battle had been fought, became a memorial site. People from across the galaxy came to see where the prey had first fought back against the predator. Captain Jiho, promoted to admiral, gave tours sometimes. He would stand in front of the monument to the 38 crew members who had died in that first battle and tell their stories. How they had fought against impossible odds. How their courage had inspired a galaxy. Pilot Seo Jun, recovered from his injuries, became a flight instructor. He taught new pilots not just how to fly, but why they flew. We have these ships and weapons not to conquer, but to protect, he would say. Never forget the difference. Engineer Nari continued her work in electronic warfare, but now she used her skills to help other species defend themselves. She taught them how to protect their networks, how to spot intrusions, how to fight back against cyber attacks. Knowledge should be shared, she said. An educated galaxy is a safer galaxy. President Sora, in her final address before retirement, spoke about the future. We proved that humanity can fight, that when pushed to the edge, we will do whatever it takes to survive. But our greatest achievement isn't the battles we won. It's the peace we're building afterward. Anyone can destroy. It takes real strength to create. Endestir, 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 Endestir. On Earth, in a quiet cemetery, there was a wall with thousands of names. Every human who had died in the war. People came to remember them, to place flowers, to tell their children about the sacrifices that had been made. Admiral Dongwu visited often. He would walk slowly along the wall, reading names. Minji, Junho, so many others. Friends, colleagues, heroes. We won, he would whisper to them. We survived. And we're building something worth the price you paid. I promise you that. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. There were no apex predators, no species destined to rule. Only people making choices, trying to survive, hoping to build something better. The Velkrin had claimed to be alpha. They had believed their strength made them invincible. But they had forgotten the most important rule of nature. Adapt or die. Humanity had adapted, and in doing so, they had changed the galaxy forever.